So
you couldn't stop him, could you?
Oh no. No, I don't know. In strap pulling, the bottom strap is what I call the horsepower strap. This is directly linked to your lat and to your post. Yeah.
This strap right here.
This strap right here is directly linked to my hammer curling ability, my brachialis and brachioradialis, and it's also related to my lat drag. So this is what I call the horsepower strap. This is the hand control strap.
Levon just launched a new YouTube channel. It's his first ever. Please go over and support him. The Georgian Hulk. Uploading regularly. Awesome content on there. If you want to see more Levon, head over there now. Link in the description box below. What's up? We are back at the best bodybuilding gym in Dubai. Benos here with Derek Smith.
Another day.
Another day. Many more to come. And we didn't give him a proper introduction, so let's do that right now. So like, where are you from? How'd you get here? What made you want to come?
Yeah, so I've been an arm wrestler like 11, 12 years. I'm from Southern California in a small city called Yucaipa, and work at a gym called Powerhouse Gym Fitness in Yucaipa, and I do security actually at a gentleman's club called Library Gentleman's Club in Redlands, California. If you guys are ever out there, check it out. But yeah, so I'm training out there in Southern California. You know Southern California. It gets hot, but the weather's drier, which is kind of nice. I can already feel the humidity in here a little bit of this place. Yeah.
It's not even summer yet.
So I'm out of Southern California, and I run one of the biggest teams in the nation. I probably have 50 plus members. I'm there, men, women, children that I train. We've been together around 7 years. So my team's called Alpha Empire. Maybe I got some shirts for these guys. Maybe you'll see them one day. But yeah, so I run that team. I train people to arm wrestle. I mean, that's kind of why I'm able to say things kind of simply, because I had to learn how to simplify a lot of this stuff, or I would be having these 5-hour conversations every single Sunday with new guys, right? So over time, I learned how to simplify what I was going to say and how to get the point across. But yeah, so I'm training out there. If you guys are ever interested, or anybody's interested in checking out the team or anything like that, message me. We're open to having anybody come out, especially if you ever come back, come train with me. Of course, love to have you. I got some really strong guys too. So that's a quick introduction to who I am. But yeah, arm wrestling's my life, guys. I got a really crappy arm wrestling tattoo here I don't like to show off, and it's kind of all I do. Right?
So, all right. I think on today's menu, we're going to start off with Toproll.
Okay.
Because we covered hook yesterday, which I think was immensely helpful. Everything clicked for me. I think that's your years of teaching arm wrestling paying off. Because that could be a bit hard-headed, right? It's hard for me to comprehend some things. So, Toproll. We did the fundamentals yesterday: elbow, foot, hand placement. So, what's step one for Toproll?
Well, so the basics still apply, just like you said. As far as foot placement and stuff like that. But top rolling is an outside move, which means our shoulder is going to go backwards. Since our shoulder's going backwards, we're going to be posting. Everything's driving back. So to have a foot placement, which is going to be driving sideways like you had yesterday, wouldn't make a lot of sense if we're going to be pushing backwards, right? So you want to have one foot in front of you, ready to push back, right? So as far as foot placement goes, I would say one toe facing straight forward, your dominant foot, and your off foot, you can have it facing slightly out because we're still going to end up twisting, but that's kind of more of a basic stance for top rolling, right? You don't want to be all sidewaysy if you're going to be pulling backwards. So I don't know how your guys' lats work, but my lat doesn't really I don't do rows like this, right? I do rows straight up, right? So that's going to be the placement as far as the feet and the hips, generally for a top roll. Now, since we're posting, top rolling is all about getting in people's fingers, right? There's different ways to do it, and we can talk about what happens when they start catching you, but in general, it's how much pressure can I put in your fingertips, in the actual tips of your fingers, not in the hand. People say, they top roll their hand. If you go into my palm, right here is like 3 times as powerful as right here, right? So we're targeting fingertips. I hate when people say, yeah, hit their fingers. No, hit their fingertips. Worry about those fingernails. Try to make the fingernails turn colors. That's where the pressure should be, right? So when we're getting a grip, we're getting a grip. If I'm focusing on top rolling Larry, I'm going to do this so the camera can kind of see his fingers and how I'm targeting his fingers. I'm going to be, right when we're getting a grip, all I'm obsessed on is where your fingers are at on the back of my hand, how much coverage you have, and how I'm going to get pressure into those fingertips, right? So in this instance, we're going to assume that you're trying to hold on to me for whatever reason, you're hooking or whatever reason, and I'm trying to find a way to get pressure in that. Now, if you have the strongest hand ever, right? I'm assuming you are the strongest grip competitor in the world, and I'm deathly afraid of your fingers. Now, the more I'm afraid of your fingers, the more I'm going to emphasize putting pressure in those fingertips. Now, if you have a weaker hand, if you're a random guy off the street, I wouldn't need to get into your fingertips as much because I could go right into your hand because I wouldn't be afraid of your finger pressure, right? So, for this exercise, Larry has the strongest hands in the world, right? Stronger than LeVon. So, when I start, I will actually go into a negative cycle. I will go towards my own pin pad in order to put pressure into his fingertips. Right? I have to, if I don't get pressure on his fingertips, he's going to destroy me. End up, I lose, right? End up. If I don't get into your fingertips, it's over. And if that's the case, then I have to get there. So there's a few small tricks you can do. A lot of them are tricks of like centimeters in the hand about how to create space. So like I said, since I'm trying to get you off my hand, eating into your palm is one. See how much coverage you lost when I pushed in? So now you don't have as good a coverage on the back of your hand because I ate into your palm. So if I was going, I'm trying to get coverage on you.
Okay.
Keep it, well, for this instance, we'll say you're high knuckle top roll. This is staying up. You're not doing a low knuckle top roll for this argument. Okay. Right? So you would push down into my palm, this, yeah, and see how my fingers are leaving the back of your hand, okay. Which is great. So I have shitty coverage now. So when you're ready to top roll, especially because Larry has, I don't know what muscle you guys call this, but it's insane on him. I don't know what that is, but it's wild. And I see a lot of hands, and that's wild. Right? But the idea is, instead of, when we walk up, say I cover your thumb knuckle like this when we get a grip. That's highly illegal. I can't cover Larry's thumb. But if you start complaining to the ref, hey, I want to see my thumb knuckle, then they're going to be like, all right, Derek, you got to go down. Now, what most people do when they say you got to go down, most amateurs go, okay, and they'll dump their riser in order to show your knuckle, right?
Go do that.
Now, that's all bad. I just lost all that height I had, all my riser advantage I had in the top roll. So instead of doing that, I want to keep this up angle, this rising angle in my wrist. So I would push down while keeping that height. Now that did two things. One, it maintained my knuckle height up here so I can still go above his hand, but also it got his fingers off the back of my hand. I don't know if you can see that with the camera, but as I push in, his fingers come off the back of my hand. So now I have access to his fingertips to be able to top roll out, right?
Look at them buckle.
Yeah. So in regards to top rolling and trying to set up a top roll, knowing your opponent kinda is great, but also trying to understand their grip and their coverage that they have is really important. Now, if you're focused on controlling me, then it's all about coverage. Capping, I don't believe capping in a top roll, as far as destroying a top roll, is that important. Because I want coverage. I want to get my fingers as far as I can over the back of your hand. So if me capping, that's like an inch less I can get my finger over the back of your hand. So get that thumb out of there for me and get better coverage so I can control, right? It just shortens how much I can reach around your hand. Now, elbow travel is pretty big, chalk, so add being chopped up would make more sense. You're going to be sliding around a lot more. You're not cementing down as much in a top roll as you are in a hook.
So if you're hooking, you want to kind of wipe the chalk off the pad.
Well, I mean, there's times in a hook where we're cemented and there's times where we travel, right there, but it's either, and you know, really on what's going on. Yeah, because you're definitely moving in the top roll. All right, so we were talking about pushing down and creating space and getting people off the back of your hand while maintaining a knuckle up like angle, right? So since I'm controlling you, or I would be trying to hold on to you by my coverage. If I was planning on hooking your hand, I would be doing this stuff at the beginning, trying to get as much coverage as I can, and hoping that you just leave that. Now, I would hope that you wouldn't, right? This should feel uncomfortable for you. It should feel like I got a great grip on you, right? So what you can do is you can supinate to get my fingers off the back of your hand, and then straighten up. That's what everybody does.
Before they're ready to go.
Yeah, before they're ready to go. The moment you get a good grip on me, get off. Get off. Get off. Everybody does this supination thing so you can't get a hold of the back of their hand, right? So the moment someone gets a grip, I got just so this. And so it's about finding that balance. But top rolling is such a game of inches and centimeters that if you're not comfortable with the setup, that's one thing, but you don't want me to be really comfortable. So you have to find a happy medium where I think I'm good and you think you're good. Because if we go to a ref grip, there's a good chance that they're gonna crush me over you. Now everybody needs to be comfortable in a ref grip, just like you should be comfortable in the straps. Because I can take you to a ref grip whenever I want, and I can take you to straps whenever I want. So if you don't know what to do in those situations, like that's really bad, right? Because you can just be there. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. You're just gonna go if I decide that we wanna go, or if you decide we wanna go, right? So knowing how to do these moves in a ref grip and knowing how to set up a top roll in a ref grip is equally important, right? But for this instance, let's go over basic top rolling and what to worry about in a standard top roll. So, like I said earlier, if I want to find your fingertips with my knuckles up, right? Even if I'm doing a low hand, it's the same idea. I'm getting into your fingertips. I think all top rolling is hitting someone's fingertips. I just got to find a way. I'm targeting different fingers depending on what I think you're going to do. If you're trying to carve in and hook, then I'm going to be targeting your bottom two. And I will go forward and do whatever I have to do to get those bottom two. And so, because step one of arm wrestling, establish your hand. If I can't take your hand, I'm not going to start trying to pin you until that hand is cracked. I'm not going anywhere until I crack that hand, right? As a top roller. So it's about getting into the fingertips right now. I'm being more offensive in this situation right now, just so you guys can see what I'm doing to his fingertips while he tries to contain. I'm going in to get him off the back of my hand so he has bad coverage.
Pushing down.
By pushing down and forward. And then when the match starts, like I said, I'm assuming he has the most amazing grip in the world, then everything's going forward to get into his fingernails. If I don't put pressure in his fingernails, then I lose. And that's the idea. He has such a strong grip, I have to get there. So I will intentionally go forward and high and dig into his fingernails. Now this is just assuming like that your hand is so strong. Now if we go and arm wrestle somebody else that's tiny, right? Then I wouldn't need to do that. Then I can just post straight through their hand. But it's acknowledging the grip strength and the cupping or the coverage that they have in the back of my hand. I have to hit into your fingers. Now, you can get to a point where your post and your cup are so strong that you can kind of go through more, but until that point, fingertips, right? Until your posting and your cupping are at some insane level, then finding the fingertips is so important, right? So John Brzezinski even does this to some extent. John has like the strongest pronation ever, like, or whatever you call that. I mean, it's pronation, but it's John Brzezinski pronation, so it's some other classification. But what he does is, he does a thing, some people call it like a can opener, one of Devin's moves, where basically someone's holding on to you, they get you deep in a hook, and then you post and you roll them out from deep in a hook, right? But what it's doing is, once we go deep in the hook, I continue to supinate, and I get you off the back of my hand by chopping, right? So as I chop down, his fingers got off the back of my hand.
Sliding off.
Yeah, so that's what John did. John will go in, push, and then post.
Okay.
Right? So it looks amazing because it looks like you're in this deep hook and he just reeled everything out, but really he's going so deep that you're getting off the back of his hand and then he's cranking everything open by getting you off the back of his hand, right? So it's dangerous because you're risking a lot by going that far in, like you might not be able to get back out, but if you're John Brzezinski, you can get back out. Right? That's just how it works.
All right.
But it's so, the whole point is fingertips, right? That's what we're obsessing on, is how to get into someone's fingertips, which starts any top roll, really, right? So as far as elbow placement, this all depends on the situation. I mean, if I'm cupping and I'm a hook puller, I'm trying to chop down, then you might want to raise the bottom part of your wrist and prepare for that, because you can tell I'm a hook puller, right? And so it's still hitting your fingertips. Arm straight up. The higher your post, the better. Yeah. I mean, because you're planning on hitting my fingertips. And my arm is so long, I know this seems exaggerated, but this wouldn't be that insane if you're trying to top roll me and I'm trying to hook with my long arm. Because you can go as high as you want. Because my arm is so long, I go with you. I can even go above, right? Yeah. And so you can go as high as you want, and I can go there with you, and it won't be illegal or anything like that. So posting high and getting ready to get my fingertips is important. If you telegraph this low, say you're dumping your wrist, if you telegraph that, I'll probably go like this and go over the top, right? But that's why you kind of have to read it. You don't want to show too much, just like the whole chest thing. You don't want to be telegraphing your move so much that I do a counter. So you kind of have to find that fine balance of how to hit into someone's fingertips. Is this stuff making sense, kind of? Or am I getting I feel like I'm kind of everywhere a little bit.
No, it's making sense.
Okay, good.
Now back to elbow placement.
Right.
So for pulling outside, you say shoulders back. Mm-hmm. So when the hook, you say pad posture, shoulders forward, everything together. So is that the same for top roll?
I still think we want to leave the option of being offensive and sliding across the pad. So if you suddenly have great posture, it's still trapping your arm at the side of your body, and it won't allow us to be as offensive, right? So I would still be a fan of standing over and having kind of bad posture. I hate saying that, but it's kind of like bad posture. So that way you can be offensive, but also so you can push down your elbow and really pivot off that. Right? Because if you're above your elbow, then you can push down and drive off it. But if it's floating out in front of you, you're really relying on just your brachialis and your posting foot. You're like really relying on it, rather than pivoting off your elbow. You know what I mean? So I think that, man, I'm just sweating everywhere. I think that standing over the pad and pushing down would be a good option for top rolling as well.
Coming in here.
Yeah, so we're more mobile. You have more playground here, right? Can you get your hips to the table while doing that, or is it hard?
I can.
Oh, okay, cool. I just know so much mass, man. It's so big.
Maybe I lost weight. Who knows?
Okay. So straighten up the wrist. There we go. Now, Larry would be a top rolling nightmare. Everybody says to have him hooked, but his hand is so thick and he's so powerful out here. Like this would be a nightmare as well once he gets comfortable top. So we'll straighten up the wrist this way. Now, just lightly, just going over the motion with like minimal pressure. Find a way to get into my fingertips a comfortable way, where you hit here, not here, not here. Find a way to go out and around my hand. Still get down, push down, get me off your hand a little bit. Yeah, there we go. How are you gonna get my fingertips? Yeah. Now, what happened is he's really emphasizing bottom 2 fingers. By doing that, you left this behind. So I say when doing a high hand top roll, there's 3 points you want to bring. 1, 2, 3. You want to bring all 3 of those points. I'd say 1, 2, 3, right? This door knocking knuckle and your punching knuckle and your wrist, right? Bring all 3 of those back at the same time, because if you leave one behind, then it does that. If you leave like this one behind, then this one doesn't go anywhere. So you have to bring all 3 of those up at the same time. Okay, there you go. And straight. There we go. Don't forget these. Still going around. All 3 of those points are going around. Yes. Yeah, it feels great. It feels horrible. But so you can even get a little knuckles up more, especially with me because my arm is so long. Take it to the edge of my thumb knuckle always.
Before the ready go, or you mean while I'm
before the ready go? Before the ready go, because you want to take all the leverage you can. Top rolling is generally a very offensive move, right? It's not about stopping. That's why you're not generally holding on. That's why a lot of people say stop holding on so much when you're top rolling, because you want to go. You want to be the one dictating the match. Like I said yesterday, you want to be in the driver's seat. So when you're top rolling, you want to go, and they should be holding on to you for dear life, right? While you're just controlling everything and making them try to stop. It's a very offensive move. If you're top rolling defensively, meaning you're holding on to someone, then it's taking you out of position really bad because you're holding on down here. It's a really weird thing, defensive top rolling. When people say that, I don't get it, because top rolling is offensive. You're just trying to pin the person, right? Wait a minute. Up to the edge. And knuckles up. There we go. Nice.
So before the ready go, I should be applying a little bit of pressure here.
Yeah. Top
so you
rollers.
don't get comfortable, right?
Top rollers love to load. Loading is great for top rolling only because I can deal better getting you up to 80% of your power by holding on to me. Like say you were hooking and I was top rolling. I want to get you at about 80% of your strength. I want to feel what you have before we go, because then I kind of know how strong your hand is. So when we load up, especially at an amateur level, at a professional level, a lot of guys will, it's called like feather load or no load, where they'll just be like limp. They won't load with you no matter what, especially hook pullers, because they want nothing in here so they can chop. And so they can do that push pass thing we worked on yesterday. Right, so they'll give you no load. But top rollers are always trying to load because I want to feel what you have, and it's easier to deal with you going from 80 to 100 than 0 to 100. You know what I mean? It's way easier for me to catch and work with you within that. So I try to rev it up with you and get you to load with me, right? And so also, if you start gripping up with me and loading, I already have pressure on your fingertips before we say go, which is great for me, right? So I already know where your hand's at, and you can't readjust if I already have pressure on your fingertips. It's hard to readjust once I'm already cranking it, right? So top rollers love loading. It's just a thing I always have.
Are you allowed to load in a real match?
It depends on the tournament. Different leagues, different rules. Yeah, some say no loading, some it's okay. Most people always load, but like the experienced refs will catch it, inexperienced refs won't. You know. But yeah, definitely you want to load as much as you can because you want to get pressure in there. I mean, if I'm feather like this and I'm not giving you any pressure at all, then once you start, I can race you and chop. But if you're already pulling back in my hand, and I try that, so give me some pressure back. Then you're already like this, and then we say go. Here we go. I can't leave. Any gap I give you, you're gonna take up immediately, right? So that's why in the setup, the moment you would start loading, I would just be like, I'll lift my elbow. Ref, he's lifting me off the pad. Ref, he's lifting me off the pad. Give it, and then if you do that, you can get fouled out, right? So I'd play that game. But at amateur level, guys love this. At amateur tournament, they walk up and they go, oh, slap, you know, like, and they go, all right, and they just squeeze as tight as they can, and they will like go right into that. They'll allow you to, you know, grip as tight as you can so you can see right where the fingers are at, play all your games. They're gonna hold on for dear life. Crank that thing right over, right? So
by height before the ready go, you mean height here?
Yeah.
So squatting a bit lower to get height.
Oh yeah,
Almost
posting
like
height's
straight
great,
up.
especially for me because my arm's so long, right? If you did this with Adam, his hand would be down here and it'd be disappearing. So you'd have to lower your lever, and you'd be put in a situation where you decide whether you're gonna do this thing or if you're gonna do the eat into his palm thing, right? I had a super match with Herman Stevens once. One of the most valuable lessons I learned from that match was that he beat me, by the way, but he kept top rolling me, and I would go up there to top roll, and he kept complaining about my thumb, and I dumped. And then he would just go right over it. I could not figure it out. And it wasn't until like the last match or rewatching the video, I forget, I was like, dude, I should have just ate into his hand. And I could have gotten into his fingers and controlled the match, but I kept dumping my riser, and he would just blast through me. It sucked. It's the worst feeling in the world, right? So I'm gonna try to contain a little bit. Now, as far as elbow placement, you play it by ear. If you're gonna hit my fingertips, then you're probably gonna have a more outside approach. So you'd want your elbow to be more center, so that way you have a runway to go out, right?
If I'm gonna go for the bottom two.
Yeah, or if you're gonna obsess my fingertips in general, you would want a way to go out, to go towards my own pin pad and hit those fingertips, right? Now, if I'm just like super confident, then I could post straight back. But that's really hoping that your cup isn't that good, and that your riser isn't that good, right? In general, it's just fingertips, man. How are you gonna bust my fingertips open? Thumb. Can you see it? There we go. There we go. All right. So he's ready to start posting. That way towards your face. Okay. Yeah, that's great. Right. So the angle is getting dumped a little bit. I can feel the riser coming down a little bit. So right when you started, yeah, you bend in these ones a little bit, right? And since I'm just doing flat cupping, it's working out. If I'm going up like this to be more offensive, because like I said, top rolling is an offensive move, then I would meet you up top, and then we would most likely either we'd find out whose riser is more powerful via, it's gross, guys. When you go riser to riser against somebody, then someone's hand goes boom, and it happens so fast, you think your arm broke in half. It's happened to me like 3 times, and I was injured for a while. Because it's just such a small muscle, and then when it gives out, it doesn't give out slowly. It just goes. It just explodes out. So it's kind of scary. But it just kind of strains your tendons a little bit. But generally what happens if we both rise, we're both top rolling, then it's gonna be whose riser is stronger, or if we're pronating, then we're gonna slip. We're just gonna both go high and we're gonna slip out. Which most of the time, two top rollers, we slip. That's what most common thing is.
So just now you're saying something gave, my riser gave?
As I applied pressure here on the bottom of your hand, you targeted the pressure here, but abandoned any kind of height in order to get into my fingertips, which isn't all bad. But if I was being more offensive, then the moment you hit that and I felt this vacancy up here, because you weren't going high, then I would just take the vacancy. I would take that empty, yeah, I would climb and start going over, right? If you're not defending it. So either you could rise or you could grip me into your hand so I can't rise. Oh. That's an option nobody talks about, right?
That's interesting. So instead of like letting this be kind of relaxed, really clamp down.
Yeah, if you're targeting, because then I can't rise, right? So
and
I know.
Meaning you can't rise, you climb, rise?
Or climb, rise, same thing for me, right? It's just kind of going over your thumb knuckle, right? But you could secure me into your hand. Now, I know we talk about not holding on very much because our top rolling is offensive, but if it's 2 top rollers, we're both being offensive, then if someone can secure someone, then they can lock them into their hand a little more, you know what I'm saying? But it's still an offensive move. You're just taking them along for the ride, you know what I mean? You always want to stay really squared up for a top roll, because that way you have an option to go back and still have power.
Gotcha.
There we go. Dump it a little bit. You get pressure in there, but I can feel this going down. There we go. Make sure the ref could see my knuckle. You don't see it, but if the ref on the side could see my knuckle, then we're good to go.
Okay.
See, if I go out and I pronate and we go knuckles up, most of the time it'll be a slip. But if I would have went into his hand and gone knuckles up, it would have been riser fight, which I hate. It's like the worst feeling in the world. Because you win some, but when you lose, it's the worst. So now for this argument, I'll do some flat cupping with just these fingers, real flat. Just kind of equal pressure on top and bottom, and try to contain some of your roll. But know that I'm not going to rise. So there's a vacancy here, which you should take. Right? You should go above my knuckle. After the match starts, you should be climbing above my knuckle in order to get in my fingers and control the height. I'm gonna do it's a lot of things in there. Okay. It's a lot. It's a lot to contain. Your hand is so fat, I don't want to say fat, but it's so thick that like the coverage is minimal. I have minimal coverage on the back of your hand, which sucks for me, right, as far as trying to cup. And so by default, since that was kind of failing, I start rising. I start going to like my safe zone and trying to rise out, and I can't help it. It's just like It's just a move that happens in my arm, muscle memory. Over time, I've done it so many times, it's just, I naturally start pronating, kind of rising out when that happens. Just like when you pull Devin, the moment you go in, he just starts King's moving out. He doesn't know how to not do it. It's just a reaction that happens now. It's just kind of fun.
So because, funny thing you said, because of this meat here, you have a little less coverage. Because this is so thick, I'm getting less coverage as well.
Right. It
So-
kind of goes back and forth as far
Yeah.
as you like the back of your hand to be really thick, but your palm to be kind of skinny. Which is kind of, I don't know if that's possible, but if it is possible, that's what you want. I'm gonna go get like synthol injections in my hand and just get that part really big.
It's not illegal. So when you're applying, I'm not sure if it's riser or pronation before the ready go, I feel like I'm here,
Yeah.
you know? So how do I get more coverage before the ready go?
If you were trying to contain me and I'm trying to top roll your hand, then during the setup, the more you chase me, I would go to ref script. Like the easiest answer to that would be I'd go to ref script, so that way the ref will close your hand pretty well around the back of mine, and if I move, I get a foul, right? So there's some small tricks you can do as a top roller to try to create some space, even in a ref script, but in general, it's a lot more fair, and they have great coverage on the back of your hand. I have a teammate that I give crap to all the time. I showed him every trick in the book for top rolling. He does all the get off my hand, rising, all the cool little tricks. But what happens is he goes to a tournament and he's so used to looking for these tricks and for these huge advantages that he goes to a ref script every time. Because every time he gets to hold this guy, he knows all the tricks, and the other guy's like, I'm not gonna start like this. Like, I have no coverage on the back of your hand. Ref, there's no way I'm starting like this. I can't even feel the back of his hand. So it's a ref script every time. And then he arm wrestles some crazy strong dude who doesn't know what he's doing, who just squeezes as tight as he can in a ref script and just crushes his top roll, right? It happens often. So we give him a lot of crap. I'm like, stop getting so greedy in the setup. You have to just take enough where you're like, I got it, that's all I need. And he thinks he's okay too. It's a balance. Because like I said, top rolling is all a game of inches and centimeters. And if you screw that up and I have enough coverage, then your whole thing is crushed. Your whole game is over. You're going home and losing, right? If just from a centimeter. So it's a really big deal that you know what you're doing in the hand. So riser up, knuckles up, there we go. Just enough to see my knuckle, center table. Let's go center. Now, you gotta get pressure in my fingertips. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rise a little bit, but I'm also gonna try to contain my hand right here. So it's gonna be like this, rather than that pressure. How's that feel?
I feel it. I feel my fingertips. I feel I'm losing coverage. So maybe I should, when I secure this, try and keep that. Not squeeze tight as I can, but just try and keep this instead of like giving it up.
Now, so if you're trying to be offensive in the top roll, that's where capping comes into play. Capping makes re-gripping way faster, going over the top, right? And if I had my thumb like this, then I'd have to go over my thumb. And it's a way bigger travel and it's slower. And I have to exit your hand to do it. I have to really exit your hand. So if you're being offensive, and I'm trying to contain in this exercise, don't worry about controlling me. You can, like we talked earlier, that is an option with the grip, but a more traditional way for top rolling would be to not worry about controlling me and to worry about re-gripping and taking that height ASAP and going right over the top of my knuckle first thing. All right? Here. Now, right when we start, I want to see this gap disappear. I want to see you dominate the top of my hand. Yes.
Right when we start. Then,
Do
okay.
these two parts first, over the top, right? These 1, 2. Take those over the top of my hand. Yes. Don't cover all that once we start. You see you're dumping right now?
Dumping.
Up. Since I'm pushing my thumb down, I'm showing my thumb to the ref, which is great for you. So if I'm giving you that territory, take it. Take all that height, right? Just to the limit of my thumb knuckle. There you go. And then once we start, that thing goes over the top. This is high hand top roll.
Okay. Start is going
Yep.
over here.
And then re-grip. That's why that thumb is covered. Now you tighten up. I've lost everything. You are controlling my hand. And now as you pull that elbow back, slide everything back, that's it. How am I gonna do? I'm gonna rise and dig your whole body out? No, that's not gonna happen. You're just gonna control the end of my hand, and then I'm screwed at the end of it, right? So but it still goes back to the same principles. You establish your hand, side pressure, you get me outside my chest, posting, you open up my hand, keep pronating or cupping if you want, and it targets, or you open up my bicep, keep pronating or cupping, and opens up my hand. Same rules, and then the pinning part comes at the end, right? If you want to overemphasize the cupping and the pronation near the end. If I do it up here, then we get in that thing we were talking about yesterday where I'm holding and not letting you go anywhere because I'm holding my bicep. So you dial it in, you control back, control height, and then when you're ready, now over time that'll be faster. You'll start getting faster, but you'll be checking all these things off the list as you go, as muscle memory. All right, he's targeting me, my bottom, he's using bottom 2 fingers. Hit that. Okay, I'm way outside my shoulder right now. Let's get that fixed. I'm inside, now I'm using my chest, and then dialing in across the table over time, right? If that makes sense. Sure. All right.
I think we should hit the strap.
Yeah.
Because when it gets to the strap, most top ends in the strap. And that's where I feel a bit lost. Because it feels so different to me when I get in the strap in the top roll versus top roller.
It is a different game. It's a different game with the straps, for sure. We'll grab some straps from Lion Straps. By the way, my buddy's the strap company. I brought some straps straight from Southern California, Lion Straps. Check them out.
So something that really clicked for me yesterday, you have the strap, is what side pressure means and how to correctly use it. So side pressure for a newbie would be this.
Right.
When side pressure used correctly is this. Right, isn't it?
It's a
Side
mixture.
the elbow.
When I tell someone, work on your side pressure, go to the gym and let's improve your side pressure, that's gonna be your elbow travel, which is your chest, which is like a pec deck, pectoralis major. And you need to work on that, you got a small chest. And also your rotator cuff, which is your subscap, which with stabilization in your shoulder, right? So shoulder and chest is side pressure. That's elbow and old school arm wrestling side to side. So when I'm working side pressure, it's those two things. That's the mixture of a professional side pressure. The guys at bars are all rotator cuff and like shoulder and injuries. That's all that they do. So yeah, it's a mixture of those. But if I can bench 100, I have 100 pounds of pressure in this motion, right? Or sliding my elbow, we'll say. And I'm going against someone that's bench presses 600 pounds or has 600 pounds of pressure in this sideways motion. If I have access through my elbow to all 100 pounds of pressure to my fingertips, but he's new, and so he has access to 75 pounds of that 600 pounds, it doesn't matter how big or how strong their chest is, because my elbow is conditioned enough where I can apply all the pressure right here, and they can't, right? So when I pulled Scott Mendelson, Scott's my boy, I got in there with him, I can hook with him, and he benches like a bajillion pounds, and I bench press like nothing, but because my elbow was so built, and I was so used to arm wrestling, I could hang with the side pressure, only because I'm used to doing it, right? And over time, he would be able to too, he was just relatively new, right? So that's gonna be, the elbow conditioning thing is big, right? So our side pressure shouldn't feel too insane, even though you're way stronger than me, only because this thing is built a little more than yours is, right? Because from time, right? So that's my spiel on side pressure.
Okay. And side pressure is used in top roll.
Side pressure is used in all moves.
Right, so when I get into a top roll, I end up here. I end up like outside my line. If I correctly use side pressure, it can maybe be a bit more in here, as opposed to getting out here. Right. Like I end up here in a top roll every single time.
You end up on the side of your body?
I end up here, yeah. So, but I feel I'm not constantly trying to reel it in like I was yesterday in the hook. Right, like get it forward, get closer to my side, and then probably go for the bend.
How was your foot placement when you were top rolling before?
It was like this.
Okay, well then, if your foot placement was sideways as of before, then when you would top roll,
before it was like this.
Okay. So naturally, if you stay in that stance, so naturally, if you try to top roll me in here, and you try to actually get in my fingertips like we've been talking about, then you're gonna end up on the side of your body, right? Now, if your feet and your hips are squared up, then when you do that, you can turn this shoulder in and really square up to like right here, have this in the center of your body. Then as you pull back, I'm right in the middle, you're using your lats, everything's tucked. You have access to your chest, you have access to everything, right? So your hip placement and your foot placement for top rolling is big, especially if you're turned sideways, because top rolling like this sucks if you're turned sideways, right? So I think that'll be a big fix as far as your foot placement for top rolling. I think that'll help correct that problem. You'll still be a little bit outside or this direction only because you're hitting in my fingertips, right? But you have to balance and dial in how far you want to go out, depending on how strong my hand is, or how much you want to keep your offensive chest available for the pinning part, right? So I had a match with a guy named Robbie Topi, one of the best left-handers in the United States. He was super tired, but I ended up beating him. But anyway, first match, he's so strong and he's a lefty, and I'm like, oh no, he's gonna destroy me, but I knew he was kind of tired. So I raced him, I did the whole push down thing so he didn't have good coverage, and he had a relatively small hand. I raced down to my pin line intentionally, so that way his hand would leave mine, and then by the time he got towards the pin pad, I was already in his fingertips, and he couldn't hold on to me. So I pushed forward. So then by the time he tried to crank on me, his hand was busted. So then I get him back to center table, and I'm trying to crank, and I can't because his biceps bigger than my head, and he's just holding there like this, and he does the thing that we're talking about. He starts doing this, and he's about to pin me. Now, magically, before I get pinned, my elbow comes off the pad, and I get a restart, right? But what happened was, I had given up so much of my offensive ability in my elbow to get into his fingertips. I pushed down, left my chest open, and pushed down just to crank his hand open, and I succeeded there. But because of that, I sacrificed a bunch of offense. Because now I'm out here like, I got it, and my chest is wide open. And so now trying to pin him with my chest wide open was hard. But I'd succeeded in cracking his wrist, which was the important thing for me. Because I had no chance if I did that. He was just gonna walk through my hand. So now we're out here, I can't pin him, he does that crazy thing, I elbow foul, we get a restart, but now I know that his wrist is cracked. When someone's wrist is cracked from being fresh, it's like a bottle cap, right? Once you break it open, it's never as strong as it was. It loses, 40% or whatever it is. So even if we get a restart, that thing is compromised now. It is nowhere near as strong as it was a second ago. So, and he was sitting like this forever. Well, what muscle is that? That's your bicep, right? So I'm sitting here cranking. He was holding me on his bicep for 35 seconds, and then he started cranking even more on his bicep, and then we fouled. So I know his bicep is relatively tired, and I know his hand is done. Okay, so now when we restart, I start with my chest in for offensive ability. Now I can attack because my chest in, because I know his hand's weak at this point. So then the second match we go, instead of me being out here and racing down this way like I did, except for right hand, sorry. But instead of racing this way, now I attack this way. Now I'm set up with my chest to be offensive because my chest is already tightened up with my elbow.
It's ready here, tight.
Mm-hmm. And his hand is weak, and so I can drive straight to the pad, and then I get to a low press and I beat him. Only because I took account into that his wrist was done and that his bicep had to have been taxed. And that led to the second restart and I hit him, right? But that's why I sacrificed offense to win this fight, to win the rising fight. So yes, there's side pressure, it is a big thing. If I didn't reset and use side pressure the second time, I would not have hit him. It wouldn't have happened, right? So there's definitely elbow travel in arm wrestling, in top roll. It's really important, right? Straps.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna give you the buckle so we can see everything, right? Or no, I'll give myself the buckle. Even though it's harder to put on, the strap's always harder to put on when you put the buckle on the back of your hand. Now, whoever has the buckle gets the strap first. You get the strap second. We go underneath the strap, Michael. And this is the fair strap. Now, this is the point where most of the games start. This is where the tricks start, right around here. As a top roller, I want space. I want space in between our wrists. I don't want our wrists connected, right? So a lot of times you'll see Devin or you'll see Michael Todd, when they're setting up a strap, Devin will be doing this while they're setting it up. He'll be supinating into the wrist because he's trying to connect down here. So that way we are locked in at the wrist, right? So no matter what I do, when I get my King's move, if I was Devin, then you're feeling every centimeter of that power. Now as a traditional top roller, I want space so that way I can still get up into your hand even in the straps. I have distance. I can still fly in the back, right? So I want this space as a top roller.
This space where exactly?
Between our wrists right here.
This space, this would be space.
Yeah, I want this slack.
You don't want this?
No, I don't want that as a top roller, I want this, right? Now, it kind of depends on your style. There's gonna be some top rollers that will take it tight because they think that their post is so powerful, they're just gonna bring your whole arm with it. But most top rollers, if you wanna reach fingertips and have slack and say, I'm assuming you're stronger than me, then I want that travel. I wanna be able to get into your fingertips and separate us, right? So I can get into your hand. So for a traditional top roll, yes, you want slack. There's like, people do things in different ways, but this is most standard, right? So in this setup right here, we want slack. I'm gonna keep posting my hand back and trying to keep as much space as I can right here in this setup.
Hand back like this?
Oh, I mean the bottom of my wrist right here.
The bottom of your wrist.
Yeah. So let's cycle through one. There. Always start with the buckle really high in the hand because when we tighten it, it's gonna end up down there, guys. Here we go. Okay, so now don't tighten it, just feed it through. Okay, so this is where the, all right, there we go. This is where the second part of the magic happens. In strap pulling, the bottom strap is what I call the horsepower strap. This is directly linked to your lat and to your post. Yeah,
this strap right here.
This strap right here is directly linked to my hammer curling ability, my brachialis and brachioradialis, and it's also related to my lat drag. So this is what I call the horsepower strap. This is the hand control strap. Generally, and there's exceptions to all rules, generally you want straps towards you. Always straps towards you. You want this strap as far down. The further this is down my lever, the more power I can put into it. If that thing's right here, I'm dragging your body over that table. You know what I mean? Because it's basically connected right to my lat. I just gotta bring my whole arm back and he will come with me. So you always want straps down. That's why you'll see guys cheating, doing this stuff, trying to get that thing as low as they can so they can just drag that bottom strap back. But most international rules is 1 inch down from the wrist line. That's the most rules for it's called a low strap. The ref will ask you want a high or low, right? And most guys 99% of arm wrestlers say low. That's 1 inch down from the wrist line. Now, some guys will take it high because they say that the way it compresses on your wrist feels better, so it's harder for you to take my hand. I've never got into that train of thought, and most people I talk to and agree with me, like there's not enough trade-off. I think it doesn't allow access to this horsepower, which is more important than kind of hand control in the strap set, I feel. Right, so straps towards you in general, right? Oh, well, that's pretty low. So then this strap towards you as well. Now, whoever has the buckle, when the ref tightens up the strap, whoever has the buckle, the strap is tightened towards you. Because the lower this strap is towards my hand, the more I can maneuver. See how my hand is free? Because the strap is towards me, so now my hand is completely free in front of it. So now I can maneuver it. I have more hand control. I can maneuver my hand. Now, if the strap is up here on me for some weird reason, then I can't maneuver my hand. It's locked into his. I can't rise, I can't do anything, right? So this strap being low allows me to maneuver and rise above his hand. So you want straps low.
I want my strap low as well.
We both want straps low, yeah, especially as a top roll. Because
away from the knuckle.
Yeah, away from the knuckle, down. Because I want to be able to rise with that knuckle. So the referee is supposed to always tighten the strap towards the guy that has the buckle's wrist. So down, this way. So now this strap setup right here is kind of average for me, but it's going to allow me to go high on your knuckle a little bit, and I have an okay bite on this bottom strap. You have a big gap here. You want these to intersect. What I'm saying is, on his hand, you want these to cross paths right here. In a perfect strap setup, this thing will be so low that these two straps cross paths right here. And this strap is kind of below this knuckle, or this bone right here, would be optimal, right? If you can get that. So when the match starts, you want pressure. This is just strap application. There's more that goes into strap setups that we can get into as far as where your webbing is at and where I'm intersecting in his hand, and we'll get to that. But this is just general strap application and general strap pulling, which is what we're talking about right now, right? Because there's definitely a lot more to this. So when we start pulling, I want pressure in this one. I call this the horsepower strap. So I'm gonna put about 80% of my pressure here and about 20% of my pressure in here. I don't want to abandon this because if I go all 100% here, that thing dumps. You control the top, and I'm just like trying to pull back. Now, what does this move kind of look like? Right here, by what I'm doing right now. It looks like a low hand top roll, right?
Yes.
That's why I said a low hand top roll is really good in the straps, because you're already used to coming out this bottom part right here, which is where the horsepower strap is anyway. So when you low hand top roll, you feel way more at home because I'm already relying on this. I'm used to it. That's why it's a little more powerful. But I don't want to abandon this too much. So I try to keep equal pressure. I mean, as far as the angle goes, I'm definitely putting more pressure in this strap, but as far as the angles go, it'll be like this. This is coming up with me, for sure, but more power is going in this than anything. So 80-20 is the numbers I give. 80% in this, 20% in this. Don't abandon this hand control strap, but you want to bring it back equally, but the moment you hit any kind of resistance, this bottom strap is the name of the game, right? We will start doing a tug of war with our lats and seeing who can corkscrew who if we're both pulling that bottom strap as hard as we can. Right? So in that case, since say you pull back, you're pulling outside in the straps, and we're both pulling really hard on this bottom strap, then we'll start doing this pronation corkscrew thing. When we get into that situation, whoever's hand was above the other person's hand will have an advantage. Assuming we're equal strength, right? If we're dead equal strength, and we both pulling back to our lat and we start pronating into each other's hand, whoever's hand was above the other guy's will win that pronation fight. So when I'm setting up the strap, all I do is I make sure my highest point is a little higher than yours. I don't go all the way up, I just go a little higher than you. So that way when we hit this maximal back pressure thing, and you go back with your lat and I go back with mine, then mine is just a little higher than his. So I have the natural leverage advantage, right? So just higher than him. I don't need it to be straight up, but higher than his for sure. Now there's different styles of strap pulling, but that's a really general one. Tons of pressure in this, don't abandon this, maintain a little bit of height, right? So let's get some pressure in this one. Arms straight up.
Very slimy.
Oh, sorry. I got a bunch of COVID tests. So I want you to feel a lot of pressure in this, and then this comes secondary. This does come.
But I still need to keep the knuckles on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm buried into your hand pretty much right now, so I'm not going to be doing a ton of fights there. I'm going to be trying to drag with my lat with that more than anything, right? Bring this back to your chest.
So it's like a hammer throw, right?
Yeah. The first part. Yeah, because you got to use the bottom strap. You have to put pressure on that horsepower strap.
Yeah. Feel like it?
Mm-hmm. It feels good. Even further. Yeah. That's access to your lat, right?
Yeah. So not really bringing it here, just bringing this here. So it's really nice. but using my lat.
Yes. That's the muscle synergy, right? The lat plus the rising brachialis, brachioradialis pressure, right? Together.
Yeah, because I think myself and most newbies included, when we hear lat, we think a row.
Right.
This is how we row.
And it's
We
definitely a
don't row.
component. It's definitely a component. 'Cause if you don't have that, then this hand is staying right here for the most part, right? Because I'll access my lat if you don't access yours, right? Yeah, nice. Feels good. I'm gonna go up and I'm gonna apply a little more pressure to this, right?
Going
So,
up?
Yeah, well, I'm not going up on your knuckle. My post is going, my arm is more vertical, and so that way I can apply a little more pressure on this one, right? Nice. So he matched my back pressure in the bottom straps. He matched it or beat it a little bit, right, as far as with his brachialis and his lat, his dragging part. And then once we hit that point where it kind of stuck there, his height, he emphasized cupping and height, and that enabled him to roll over the back of my hand. And that's really important that you kept that with you. You didn't abandon this.
Kept you in the pronation.
Yeah, you kept this top strap. You kept that pressure in that top strap. Like for me right now, I'm abandoning this for the most part. I'm doing all this, right, which is allowing you to go over the top, right?
Yeah.
So when we were doing it, if I kept a little more up pressure in this with this, then it'd be a little different, right? But whoever has height would still probably come out on top.
So meaning if you try to get the knuckles higher,
Or just
While
general pressure in that top strap. Because I was doing all pressure in the bottom strap.
yeah. So Raul Paniker, I feel his pressure straight up.
Yeah.
I feel even on the strap, he's really on the strap, it goes right in the fingertips, and he's just going straight up. I just feel all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because your arm is so massive that he has no chance. If he ties a rope from his lat to your lat, that's not going to work out for him. So he probably emphasized a hand control strap with straps up, because that's the only chance he has is taking control of your hand, right? So instead of him going lat for lat, he's like, screw that, I can't touch that thing. Then they get up and get this strap really low so I can still climb. And hopefully your hand will fold underneath mine, and then my mediocre horsepower strap will have way more power because his hand is already compromised, right?
So when someone's rising real high like he was, what's my defense to that?
Well, you can rise back. You can ask for a tighter strap, which will sink him down into your palm. This is assuming that you're top rolling and he's top rolling.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, then you still want to travel. I think if you do what we're doing right now, I think you would be fine as far as going above. Bringing this and this, your knuckles and the strap up at the same time. So I'm not gonna try to cover your knuckle, but I am gonna use this top strap a little bit more. It'll be like that. So you'll feel more pronation. So
Couldn't stop it, could you?
that's it. Oh no. No, I don't know. That's it.
Beginning of the video now, guys.
Stop stirring the pot.
So me buried that much in your hand, even if I had pressure in this, without climbing, I didn't have enough, right? Because my strap setup at the beginning wasn't trying to emphasize height on him, it was more instructional. So I'm in kind of a shitty strap setup right now, as far as like if I'm trying to gain advantages on him, right? Because I'm buried underneath your hand a little bit because I have the buckle.
Okay.
Right? But still, we're working on your offensive movement right now, and that's great. So this one, I'm feeling a lot of pressure in that bottom horsepower strap. The hand control strap is coming with you, and your cupping is taking over my pronation, right? Because of your height advantage, your cup is more powerful because he's over my hand. So then his cup is destroying my pronation, right? Because it's always cup versus pronation. It's not pronation versus pronation until he goes back and we both corkscrew. Right now, he's cupping versus my pronation, and your cup should be stronger than my pronation. He's cupping. Your wrist flexion is stronger than my pronation.
But now if you were to try and rise,
If I were to try to rise, then it might be different. I don't even know.
I think it'd be a lot tougher for me because now I feel like I'm losing that advantage you're giving me. Meaning now, like before I had that height,
Right.
but now if I lose that height, it's like I'm trying to pin with a straight wrist.
Yeah.
Trying to pin like this.
Then the fight will be up here a lot more.
The fight would be in the hand.
Yeah, in the hand. Sorry.
Okay.
Say it.
Yeah.
Some lunch.
I feel that shit is rising strong. Shit.
I can already tell though, you're so far past my hand that it's gonna fold underneath. I can already tell that, but from the setup. But I'll try. Yeah, so good. I don't want to keep cranking. I don't want to get too crazy with it, but yeah. With that setup, because I'm a little underneath and his height was better than mine, I'm not able to dig out because he's already above me, right? And so underneath, there's no way. So if we were setting up the strap differently, and we're taking this a little more serious, then my webbing, we'll go over hand placement in the strap. This is big. This is as big as how to put the strap on. So when worrying about the strap and strap application, as far as hand placement, my webbing, this part right here, when I say webbing, that's this. I want that to be higher than yours. That's the goal. So a lot of people are fighting for that 24/7. Now, I'm gonna put the strap on the back of his hand for this. So I'm gonna give you the buckle this time, just so I can throw it on a little faster. Now, right when we're matching up the webbing for a strap match, the goal is to get your webbing above mine. Whoever's webbing is higher is over the other guy's hand, right? Generally, the guy who has the buckle, if I have the buckle, once it gets tightened, the buckle pulls my hand underneath yours when it gets tight. That's why the old strap setup, the one that Devin gives everybody crap about, it would further yank on this and pull me underneath your hand. So my hand would go underneath and your hand would be on top, which in the strap setup is great for you, right?
It's much easier to get a cut and go over his hand.
Right. So when especially if you have the buckle, then you really need to emphasize height and pronating just to make sure that your webbing is equal or hopefully above the other guys. Right? But if you have the buckle and you don't even care about that, you don't pay attention to it, you will get stuck underneath and you will be below the other guy's webbing, which is horrible. All right? So for the name of this example, first we're gonna give you webbing height so you can feel the difference, and then we'll give me webbing height so you can see what it feels like when I have height, right? So Larry gets strapped, I get strapped, goes underneath. We have a generally loose strap. Right now, Devin would do this. Tighten everything up, right? I like space. In the name of Toproll. Okay.
If you're a hooker, then you want to get in.
Then you want tight, because then we're connected. And you want to be connected if you're a hook puller or an inside puller. Generally. So, as I'm tightening this, just make sure that your webbing stays a little bit above mine, because it's going to try to pull you underneath.
I feel that immediately, yes.
So what should he do? Should he be?
Yeah, rising.
He should be driving up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it looks like, that looks good.
yeah.
There we go.
That's a fucking touch right. Jeez.
There. Okay. So he's winning the webbing battle.
Yes.
I have so much right now.
That's
great. So once we start, do the same thing and go over the top, and I'm probably not going to be able to stop you, but because his webbing is so much higher than mine right now. Remember, guys, the ref always starts flat. Well, I mean in the wrist. There we go. Oh, you got this so much. You're just gobbling up my hand. All right. See, I was so buried underneath that I have no bite up top. I have no purchase on his wrist or on his riser to try to dump that or even combat it, really. Now, just for the name of webbing,
Sure.
I'm going to take the webbing this time, the height.
Oh wow, this is a lot different. Yeah, but that would have nothing.
So now, mine's a little bit above his as far as the webbing goes, so I'm winning the height fight. So once we start, I mean, unless the strength difference is immeasurable, then I should topple his hand. That's what should happen.
Yeah, easily as well, because also have less coverage, it feels like I'm gripping it way back
Yeah,
here.
because I rose into everything, right?
Nothing at all.
Because he's underneath my hand, right? So that fight is really important. That webbing is a big deal. Now, so say our webbing is neutral, even. Now, me getting up my thumb ridge up into his fingers, like a low hand top roll, is big. I would be trying to raise this into his fingers, so when he closes it, he has shitty coverage, right? So not only would I be trying to get my webbing up as a top roller, but I would also be trying to get my thumb ridge back. So one thing you see Travis Bajan do a lot is he'll close his thumb second. So right now in this mode, when the ref says close your thumbs, I'm not gonna do this. Because what happens is if I shove my thumb down, all that ridge I worked to get up just went away. So when I close my thumb like this, see how I kept this part of my thumb up? Because that way it's still in your fingers. And I close my thumb. right? So I have all that pressure still back, rather than dropping my whole ridge down and giving him great coverage. So I keep that ridge up, and I try to keep my webbing up at the same time. Right, so right here, you should feel really crappy.
Yes.
Right? So it's kind of the same thing, right? If you're setting up, make our webbing even, ridge into my fingertips, arm straight up. Dump it a little bit, your riser.
Riser,
Yeah. In order to get this ridge up, dump your riser a little bit.
Jump the ridge, where again?
Up in my finger. Higher
Up
up,
here.
yeah. The higher up you get it, the better for you. Then when the ref says, so our webbing is generally even, ref says close your thumb, just enough where it's closed like that, but this ridge is still up. Right? Then when we start going, we start pulling back heavily up here, you should, I won't be able to retain you. Once you pull back, there's no way. You see, there's no way. Because you're so far up in my hand. Right? So these games still go on inside the straps. The finger placement and the ridge, your thumb ridge is still really important about where you apply it inside the strap as far as outside pulling is concerned, for sure. Right?
Wow, there's a lot. I didn't know any of that.
Neither did I.
I didn't know any of that. Like the webbing, I had a rough idea only because Devin mentioned it. Like he's over here almost like 9 months ago now.
Right.
And the ridge, no idea about that, and also the thumb, especially never anticipated that. Keeping the thumb back so they don't get that index finger coverage.
Yeah, it's
They're-
kind of interesting with all the people that we met. Nobody's one of
Yeah,
They're all plotting on you, Larry.
Maybe.
I'm not plotting on them. I'm not plotting
I'm
on
a bit suspicious now.
So there's a really cool trick that I learned from watching Tim Bresnan, and I had a supermaster Tim Bresnan who destroyed me. But I honestly haven't put a lot of thought into how to explain it, but I can show it to you. And it's the most weird feeling. You're gonna be like, what is going on? Because when the strap's being applied, you're gonna feel like you're doing great. When the strap's being put on, right before we say go, you're gonna feel like crap. It's a really weird feeling. And Travis Bagent kind of does this as well. Okay, so I'm gonna give you,
Tell us all of Travis's secrets.
I don't know them all. And he'll make sure to tell you guys I don't know. Hey, you don't know none of my secrets, man. You can't say crap.
That's how it's up.
Yeah, that's exactly how it's
Identical.
All right, so what I'm going to want here is you still go for the things that we've been talking about, right? About height and whatnot. Yeah, it's easier. So, as we're tightening it up, you're gonna notice my wrist is gonna be backwards, like this, the whole time. You keep doing what you've been doing as far as gobbling, cupping, and rising and everything like that. But as we're tightening it up, my wrist is gonna stay back. Yep, you're up down.
I feel good.
Because he's pronating over me, his cup should be doing good, and my wrist is back, right? So as we're tightening it up, you should feel, there we go. Okay,
Do you feel
so now,
good? Do you feel good, Larry?
Look at his hand.
and my hand's bent back, right? So now when the
But
ref,
you said that he should feel good.
I do, no, yeah. I feel like I have everything here.
right, so when the ref walks up and the ref goes, okay, you guys ready? Right before we're about to go, I'll be like, yeah, I'll make a fist, and then the ref will be like, straighten out your wrist. I'll be okay. Now my wrist is straight. Now how do you feel?
I feel like I lost it.
Now all of a sudden, suddenly I went from bent down to straight, but his wrist, suddenly his hand is completely below me. And now I'm winning the whole height fight, and you're cupped underneath, but I'm straight as an arrow.
That sucks.
Right? So what like I said, I haven't applied too much thought to this, but what I'm thinking is, as you tighten it up, these straps are becoming lower and lower and lower, and I'm still pushing my hand, this part of my hand, past Larry's. So once they say, okay, close your hand, straighten it up, then it's gonna bury him underneath mine because I've been getting height by pushing past his hand the whole time, right? And dumping my wrist, so these straps are getting lower. So, and then you've been going to the
The strap
top.
is very high in my hand. Look what the strap is on mine.
Yeah.
And it's been rising
Good
that.
wrist, yeah.
Yep. So once we cup, all of a sudden he's underneath me, and I feel fantastic, right before the go. Right, which is like crazy when it happens, because you think you have everything until that wrist straightens out, and you're like, oh my God, I have nothing. And so then Travis is like, he starts cranking your wrist right over. It's a really wild little trick. But because in the setup, I'm dumping my wrist back, right? So it feels him like, oh yeah, dude, I'm dominating. Oh no! It straightens out, and all of a sudden your wrist is like this, and he's straight. I'll put more thought process into it and kind of figure out exactly what's happening. But yeah, it's a crazy trick. So that stuff kind of makes sense?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Good. Strap pulling is a whole different thing, man, because anybody can get you there whenever. Whenever they're ready, if they know what they're doing, they'll slip, they'll run. And if you put this thing on and you're not comfortable in it, you don't feel confident in what you're doing, man, you're at a disadvantage. Like you said, the smaller guy, what's his name? Yeah, he did really well with you in the straps when you put the straps on. Yeah, I mean, he knew what he was doing, and they weren't teaching those secrets, they were plotting on you, Larry. I'm telling you.
Yeah, no, what it felt like is exactly what just happened. It felt like his webbing was like this. So I felt like I was under his hand before the ready go. His just felt so high, and I felt like I just had nothing before the ready go.
Yep.
So I didn't know what he was doing, what to look for.
Yeah, you want to emphasize things like the more I'm putting power into this strap, I'm abandoning this, right, a little bit. So you want to find a balance of pressure here and pressure here, kind of equally. You don't want to abandon one or put too much into one and not in the other. So it's kind of finding that balance while worrying about those cheats and getting up in their hand and watching the webbing and worrying about the strap riding down or going down towards you. It's such a balance of all those things. But just take practice. Just doing the strap so much that you acknowledge it, like, oh, I know how to do it. Oh, I feel what you're doing there. Okay, I got you. And then you find the answer to all of it. I'm gonna rise over you, or I'm gonna cut more, whatever it is. Top rolling is not very destructive. In a tournament, it'd be best if you top roll only because if I don't know you, you don't know me, and you can be an inside puller or whatever. If I get pinned while trying to top roll you, my brachialis failed. You know, my brachial radialis failed. The muscles opened up. If I go into a hook with you and I don't know who you are, and I'm doing all the stuff we talked about yesterday, shoulder commitment, chest, and you grip sideways through me, my joint failed. My tendons and everything got ripped open. That takes way more out of you than this does. Getting your muscles opened up, just like, trying to pick up a heavy dumbbell and failing, doesn't destroy you for the whole day. This will take you out for a few hours. So it's a safer approach, especially in a tournament where you have multiple matches coming up, to top roll. In general, it's just way less damaging if you lose. And if you don't know how strong this guy is, you try to top roll, often you can slip, you have options to run. If you go into a hook, there's not a lot of options to run. If you get in there and you're like, oh no, I didn't expect this, there's not a lot you can do. There's not any way to escape it, really. Right? So it's just a little smarter using the top roll in a tournament, not a super match, because you should know the guy if it's a super match. You should know what you're getting into.
Okay.
So, sorry.
All right. Suppose that's a wrap for today. Learned a lot in this trap, hope you guys did, and also about top roll. Tomorrow we have Hermes. Hermes will be here. And also group practice. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, let's get it.
That'll be interesting. I can't wait. So we're gonna call it while everything still feels good. And we'll be back at it tomorrow. See you guys soon.